People who separated/divorced within 1 year of getting married. When did you know it was a mistake? She went out for girls' night and met a new friend named Nicole at a bar. Started texting her a lot, then going to hang out now and then. We had a baby at home, and she kept trying to go hang out with this girl from another town over with no last name, whom I was not allowed to meet. His real name was Wesley. A couple of weeks into our marriage, the sex started to physically hurt. I went to my OB, and after a test or two, she informed me I had contracted chlamydia. That's when I knew. Turns out, my newlywed husband had been banging his coworker for months. Not me, but a friend of mine. They had been married about 6 weeks. She had just moved in when they returned from the honeymoon, and she was rearranging furniture, organizing closets, etc. One day while he was at work, she started pulling some of his boxes down from a closet shelf to make room for her things, and a box fell down accidentally, spilling hundreds of pictures of child porn. Divorced the pedo after reporting him to the military police. They were both in the military. When she pulled a knife a month in, I still stayed for a full year like an idiot. She decided she was in love with her stepbrother a month after we got married. When I caught my new bride having a workplace affair while I was receiving cancer treatments, it was not a pleasant time for me. Edit. Holy crap. Woke up to an awful lot of really nice notes. Thank you everyone, and to those who gifted silver and gold. I'm going to try to respond directly to some folks, but I will say this here. This happened about 25 years ago. Yes, I'm an old guy. It really sucked at the time. The day I found out I was a few months into both a major surgery and then daily radiation treatment. I was down to about 118 from my normal 155 lbs. But, as it turned out, it was really a good thing. We did not have a house or kids and the divorce was rather simple. I went on to get married again and have 3 incredible kids I would never have had otherwise. The entire experience taught me a lot about the power of forgiveness. Admittedly, it took me too long to learn this lesson, and I have a pretty great life today. If you are currently going through something similar, please know that life can and does get better. Thank you all again. And, while I watched Breaking Bad, I really never made the connection to me. So many of these comments have me laughing out loud. Edit #2. So we tried the whole marriage counseling thing after I caught her. The marriage counselor, however, was my wife's personal therapist. We had one meeting, and the therapist asked to meet with me privately. She subsequently reported to my wife, Nika seems to have a lot of anger. Yeah, think. I had just lost over 20% of my body weight. I was still going through treatments, and I'd found out my wife of less than a year was sleeping with a coworker. Lol. Not me, but my dad. He got back from his honeymoon and went back to work. He came home and something felt off when he walked in the door. She wasn't there when he got home from work, which was very odd for her since she got off work earlier than him and was always home when he got back. When she got back, he mentioned that it was out of the ordinary that she had been out and asked if she went somewhere. He wasn't accusatory, just curious because it never happened, but she dodged his questions at first. Eventually, after he got suspicious of her dodging a simple question, she admitted that she'd quit her job, and when he asked why, she said she didn't need to work. So she was planning on using him as a cash cow. He doesn't remember how the conversation went exactly since it was 30 years ago. He tried counseling and asked her to get her job back, but she always brushed him off and never took him seriously. He threw in the towel 7 months later, and she started trying to fix things, but it had been 7 months of him trying to fix things, and she had no interest. So he filed for divorce and went on to achieve his lifelong dream. He dated and then married his middle school crush, my mom, 28 years strong. Edited to add, since a lot of people were asking for clarification. Thank you for the silver and my first ever gold, kind strangers. My mill got married the first time when she was really young. Left him a month later. Turns out he was a raging alcoholic. She had no idea because her family was super overprotective and they were never really allowed to spend time together alone before they got married. Who knew spending time with someone could be the key to knowing if they are a good partner? Less than a year into actively trying to get pregnant, he got discouraged, gave up and started staying out until 4:15 am with his coworker. He posted selfies on her couch on Snapchat and even went as far as asking her to marry him once he could get rid of me. He had 2 biological children, my stepchildren, that he abandoned at home with me while he was out doing this. The icing on the cake was that on my favorite holiday, while holding my brand new baby nephew in front of his entire family, he told me he wanted a divorce. I was gone in 2 weeks, left everything to him, and vanished. New number, new address, everything. Best choice I ever made. A cousin of mine divorced her husband after 6 months. She knew when we had to pick her up from her home, after having been recently beaten. That day, we packed up all of her stuff and never let her go back. Not me, but my brother. We grew up on a ranch. Bro's girlfriend comes from the city, but during visits to the ranch, she dives right in, helping our mom around the house and participating in all the stuff we do. Horseback riding, ATVs, etc. And claiming and appearing to love it. Brother so happy his city gala is compatible with the ranch lifestyle he grew up in. Even though he is now working in the city and their life will be in the city, he just loved that she was able to connect with him that way, and more importantly, with his family. They date for 18 months, make many visits to the ranch, and all is well. She insists that she wants to have her wedding at my parents' home. My folks go all out, have both families there. Everyone has a great time. The next morning, we have a send-off breakfast for the couple. They head to the airport for their honeymoon. My mom and bride's mom are visiting afterward, and bride's mom mentions she's glad my mom had no hard feelings, that her daughter and my brother will no longer be coming out to the ranch. My mom is like, "What do you mean?" Bride's mom says, "Oh, I thought Laura told you that having the wedding here was her gift to you to have your son home one last time with all his family here." My mom goes white as a sheet. We all are stunned. We are confused as to whether my brother knows this, and more importantly, has agreed to this. My other brother, who has his own history of family drama, texts our big bro saying, "Is it true that this is your last time visiting mom and dad?" And big bro texts back, "What are you talking about?" Middle bro says, "Ask your new wife." Needless to say, the honeymoon never happens. It turns out that his wife had been hiding her belief that that man leaves his family behind and becomes part of the woman's family. It was fully her intent to never visit my parents again, to spend all holidays at her parents' home, to have any future children only have relationships with her family, and on and on. My brother literally had no idea these were her beliefs/desires. To this day I don't know if she was evil or just clueless. They remained married for about a month until the divorce was final, but my bro never saw her again after the day after wedding day. A cousin of mine married someone who seemed like the perfect woman. They worked in the same store together, and he would brag about how his wife was getting promoted quickly in the company. A few months into the marriage, she tells him she's going out with friends for the evening. An hour or so later, my cousin gets a call from one of his friends. The friend saw her having dinner in a restaurant with the manager of the store that they both worked at. Once he confronted her about it, that was basically the end of the marriage. Her running off with a guy she met in rehab was a pretty solid clue that it wasn't meant to be. Honeymoon. We dated for 5 years, but on the honeymoon we had a big argument over my liberal use of sunscreen. She refused to wear any because of chemicals, and I liberally use it due to my ginger skin. We seriously argued over this for a good hour, and she refused to even go into the pool with me because of sunscreen chemicals. After a scuba adventure with her, she could hardly walk because she got so burnt on her legs, whereas my skin didn't change. She then tried to convince me that it was all my fault because I didn't force her to wear the sunscreen and that the honeymoon was ruined. It was then I realized I picked the wrong person. After a few more psycho arguments, mad at me because of something in her dreams, mad because I didn't remind her to bring an umbrella, I had to call it quits. I can't stay with someone who constantly blames me for their own problems. Luckily no kids, and I got back everything I brought into the marriage. Day after we got engaged, he changed. Then he uninvited my family to the wedding, said they would take my attention away from him. We lasted 3 months. and then I ran and hid. Edit to everyone who is asking, then why did you marry him then? I totally get that question. Here is the answer. I felt worthless. So when you grow up feeling worthless and a partner says yeah, you are worthless and everyone can see that, but you know what? I will love you anyway. You jump on that shit like it's the last living plant in a nuclear wasteland. I didn't leave because I honestly believed it was either him or suicide. I left because he was killing me anyway and I decided it would be less painful to just die on my own. Then I lived. I hear this question a lot. If you ask someone why they stay, it's because you don't understand the trauma they are experiencing. That means you are lucky in that regard. Be careful with this shaming question. It is a part of our trauma. The next morning I woke up and thought when would be a socially acceptable time to get divorced. In hindsight, that says miles about why I felt I had to get married. I actually knew before. I was just too scared to do anything about it. Best girlfriend I had to date at the time. I was in my late 30s, had never been married. Dated about a year. Got married. Shortly after she asked to have her name on all of my assets. A few rental houses, current house, and some financial instruments. The cars. Not a problem as we were married I thought, but on a Wednesday she insisted it be done by that Friday. I didn't have time to do that because work had a deadline. I could start it the next week I said. She pitched a fit and said if I loved her I would do it by Friday. I found this strange and decided not to start it and see what happened. She moved out of our bedroom into a guest room. Got cold around the house. Told me she would move back into our bedroom when I finished getting everything done. At this point I thought bullshit and told her so. I went to my family lawyer to seek advice. She advised me not to put anything in her name at this point. Gave me the name of marriage counselor. She didn't want to go to counseling. She continued to live in the guest room. I took my lawyer's advice and did nothing about the assets. The long and short of it was after 1 year of marriage, when on our anniversary she told me I didn't have her in my heart. I thought to myself, this is bullshit. About a week after that I told her, if this is the way it's going to be, I'm not going to be married like this. She then told me, okay, so what are you going to give me? Yes, she said that. I consulted my lawyer on what a judge would come up with regarding community property for the past year. Number came up to 20G. I took that number and added about 20 grand and proposed that to her so we can make it easy. I was going to spend more than that in lawyer's fees. If it got ugly, it got ugly. A week later I got served with papers with all said in the complaint. When added up, she was going after $750K for 1 year of marriage, 1 year of divorce proceedings and 2 years of property settlement proceedings on what should have been a 2-hour problem. Judgment came. 215 points in the judgment. I owed her what would have been the community property, about 20 grand, but awarded me attorney's fees. So in net, she owed me about 30 grand and left her to go buy her own car. Turns out this judge had worked her ass off through school to become a lawyer and the same to become a judge by 40 years old. I was told by another attorney that normally this judge never gives attorney's fees, but was so pissed off at the gold dig my wife attempted that she felt it was justified in this case. Even though I came out okay financially, it was an emotional train wreck to have this happen and go through all that. It's been 15 years since it happened. I was not dateable for about 2 years, but now very happy with where I am and who I'm with. Edit. Wow, this reply to the op really blew up. Thanks much for the silver and gold. These are a first for me. Not sure, how do I find out who gave those to me so I can thank them directly? I can probably Google that. :close bracket. Lots of good comments. I'm trying to answer each question, but might take me a while. I'm in Asia right now and will be heading to bed soon. Thanks much for your thoughts. This happened 15 years ago, so I'm over the hurt, but the thoughts that you have been sending me have been uplifting. For the others with the stories similar to mine, and worse, I feel for you, I really do. I don't wish this type of thing on anybody. Divorce can be nasty, and I don't wish it on anyone. But in the case of damaging relationships, it's a tough but needed remedy. When I found out he had 500K in debt that he hadn't told me about beforehand, Yes, we had a prenup. He just lied about it on the prenup. She nearly killed me because she thought I was cheating from some texts that went to my mother. The day after the wedding, when he poked me in the chest and said, "You're going to do what I say, whether you like it or not." Ugh, big mistake. Please like and subscribe, you scrubs. Don't tell your mum on me. Here are some more videos.